Iran is mocking the so-called American dream, with Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Qalibaf using Marco Rubio's remarks to take a sharp and sly dig. Qalibaf's response was aimed at what Tehran portrays as a sinister US design to weaken Iran, create scenes of devastation resembling Gaza. Iran is taking fresh potshots at Team Trump as Washington struggles to rally full NATO backing, with several allies resisting US military requests. Iran's Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Qalibaf on March 31 responded directly to remarks made by US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. In a post on X, Qalibaf pushed back against Rubio's suggestion that Iran should not invest in its military, arguing that such spending had prevented a far worse outcome. Marco Rubio said, and I quote, "Imagine if instead of spending billions on weapons, Iran spent that money on its people. They'd have a much different country." Unquote. Qalibaf argued that otherwise the United States could have rapidly seized Iran's oil resources, using that point to defend Tehran's military buildup as necessary deterrence. Mohammad Bagher Qalibaf said, and I quote, "If they didn't spend on weapons, it would have been so beautiful. Then we could have gone in, seized all their oil fields in 48 hours. 48 hours, believe me, armed the Israelis with the best weapons, and created many, many new Gazas. The real American dream, folks." Unquote. The Trump administration is currently facing pressure after multiple NATO allies refuse to join the Iran war more directly, feeding perceptions of diplomatic isolation. Marco Rubio then said on television that the United States may have to re-examine the value of NATO, complaining that allies were unwilling to provide the base access Washington expected.
Well, I can't comment on that other than to say that there's nothing any government is doing or any country in the world is doing now to help Iran that is in any way impeding our mission. Do they have countries that have helped them in the past? Yes, they have. I mean, and by the way, Iran also helps other countries. There are messages being exchanged. There are talks going on. There is the potential for direct meeting at some point. We're always going to be open for that. So I think there's no doubt, unfortunately, after this conflict is concluded, we are going to have to re-examine that relationship. We're going to have to re-examine the value of NATO and that alliance for our country. Ultimately, that's a decision for the president to make, and he'll have to make it. We're going to finish the job here. As I said, we're very, very close to achieving our objectives on all of these things that I've outlined. But I do think, unfortunately, we are going to have to re-examine whether or not this alliance that has served this country well for a while is still serving that purpose, or is it now become a one-way street where America is simply in a position to defend Europe, but when we need the help of our allies, they're going to deny us basing rights and they're going to deny us overflight. It's only been 3 months. What's been achieved in Venezuela in just 3 months is nothing short of extraordinary. Ultimately, there will have to be a transition phase. There will have to be free and fair elections in Venezuela, and that point has to come. And that has to, it's not forever, but we have to be patient, but we also can't be complacent. And so I feel very good about the progress we've made in Venezuela in 3 months, and all the doomsdayers that were saying after Maduro was taken prisoner, as he should have been, and brought to justice. So I think Cuba's in need of two things, economic reforms and political reform. You cannot fix their economy if you don't change their system of government. And but they're in a lot of trouble, there's no doubt about it. And we'll have more news on that fairly soon. We're working on that as well.
Many Americans are asking, why did the United States have to attack Iran now? Well, let me explain. Iran wants to have nuclear weapons. Of that, there is zero doubt. If what they truly wanted, which is what they claim, is nuclear energy, well, they could have nuclear energy like all the other countries in the world have it. And that is, you import the fuel and you build reactors above ground. That's not what Iran has done. They build their reactors and their facilities deep in mountains, away from the public glare. And they want to enrich that material. The same equipment that they could use to enrich material for energy, they could use to quickly enrich it to weapons grade. So it is clear that they've been offered every opportunity to have a nuclear program that allows them to have energy, not weapons, and every single time they have turned it down. But why the attack now? Well, what was Iran trying to do? Iran was trying to build a conventional shield, in essence, have so many missiles, have so many drones that no one could attack them, and they were well on their way. We were on the verge of an Iran that had so many missiles and so many drones that no one could do anything about their nuclear weapons program in the future. That was an intolerable risk. Under no circumstances can a country run by radical Shia clerics with an apocalyptic vision of the future ever possess nuclear weapons. And under no circumstances can they be allowed to hide and protect protect that program and their ambitions behind a shield of missiles and drones that no one can do anything about. This was our last best chance to eliminate that conventional threat, that conventional shield that they were trying to build, and the president made the right decision to wipe it out now. That is the goal of this operation, to destroy their conventional missiles and their drone program so they can't hide behind it and finally have to deal with the world seriously about never, ever having nuclear weapons.
Inside the US government, differing messages have emerged over how to handle the Strait of Hormuz, adding to confusion as the conflict with Iran continues. The Wall Street Journal reported that Donald Trump told advisors he is willing to end the Iran campaign even if the vital waterway remains closed. According to the same reporting, Trump is prepared to postpone any large or complex military operation aimed at forcibly reopening the strait. Officials quoted by the Wall Street Journal said Trump might revive Operation Epic Fury, a plan to reopen the strait, but only at a later stage. In contrast, the US Secretary of State has publicly insisted that Washington will ensure the Strait of Hormuz is reopened, whatever the cost. Speaking to Al Jazeera, Marco Rubio echoed that hard line, saying the strait would be reopened one way or another. During the ongoing war, Iran has effectively choked off traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, a route that handles about 1/5 of the world's traded oil. Rubio also dismissed Iran's demand for formal sovereignty over the strait in any future agreement, calling it unacceptable for the US and its partners.
It's important to remember the objectives of this operation from the very beginning. We are destroying Iran's navy. We are destroying their ability to their missile launchers by a significant percentage. We're going to wipe out their defense industrial base. There is a way forward here to achieve our objectives. We are going to achieve our objectives in a matter of weeks, not months.
Well, but let's talk about taking the oil, because the president laid out that objective last night. And taking the oil will take ground troops, won't it?
Well, again, the Iranians are threatening that they're going to set up some permanent system in the Straits of Hormuz where they get to decide who goes through international waterways. That will never be allowed to happen. By the way, the rest of the world should take note of that. They have more at stake there than we do. The president has several options at his disposal, and the Department of War is preparing optionality for the president for this and various other contingencies that might arise. That's what always needs to happen in situations like this.